picking up from the last video, I'm hoping in this one we can get it started. I did get a lot of stuff and did a little research and figured out, you know, like what the Prindle was, because I didn't know what that connector went to, and the transmission plug and all that stuff. I'm sure some people know these transmissions and they're like, this guy's an idiot. And they're like, yeah, I didn't know what I was talking about. So now I do. We got a new Prindle because that one was broken. The transmission plug is on the other side of the transmission from where the Prindle is. The injector plugs, so they're 5.3 injector plugs first, because I ordered the engine harness for a 5.3 and I didn't know the LS1s were different. But I found a company that makes LS1 to 5.3 injectors. So we have the female 5.3 and the male, or the opposite. Yeah, male 5.3 and female LS. So they, you know, I don't even have to cut up the harness. We got a transmission dipstick because we didn't have that yet. ECU. This is the brake check valve. They sent us two. That's fine. I don't know if I misread it or whatever. But we have a MAF. We can plug that in. The transmission line. We're going to flare the transmission line. That way it has something to grab onto. We got a bunch of, you know, a little assortment of plugs and everything. This, I know it was quick in the last video, but this is like the connectors that they sent with the harness. They also have a bunch of zip ties, you know, grommets, other things. So they were very thorough with this. I'm going to get started on putting everything in. And like I said, the end of this video, my goal is we'll have a running engine. We're gonna see. We don't want to make a 45-minute video, but stick with me. This is the tranny connector. This one plugs in on the passenger side and it goes downwards over the pan. I didn't know that until we got the harness and everything, because I am not fluent in LS swap stuff. So we're just gonna throw it down under the car under here. And then I'm gonna put in the dipstick from underneath. I don't know where I'm gonna mount it on the firewall, because it's a firewall mounting one. So just stab it in the transmission and let it hang out up here, because it's just gonna fall down if it's not stabbed in something. I have the transmission plugged in on the other side. This is the speed sensor, or the VSS, and this is the plug that's supposed to go here. So I'm guessing I have to take these up and pull them through the other side and then throw them over the transmission, just because, yeah, that's not gonna reach at all. I have the starter and the signal wire all done and kind of tucked up in there.
I can get in there.
There it is. There it is, yeah. I'm not gonna worry about putting on the gold sheathing right now, because it's only going to get started so that we know everything works. And then once we know everything works, then it'll be routing the wiring, taking the engine out, painting the bay, all the other stuff. This is the tried and true, yay, we're actually making progress, and then everything comes back apart. I'm gonna grab the Master Cool flaring tool, and we're gonna put a little bit of a flare on here. That way there's some resistance, and it's not just a smooth surface for the worm clamp to hold on to with the hose. Just like how the, you know, the ones on the tranny cooler radiator, whatever you would call it, is. All right, so you can see we got a little bubble flare on there. I used a inverted 45-degree tool and just didn't do it all the way. We're just trying to get that little, you know, resistance for the hose. That way when the clamp is on, it ain't gonna fly off when there's pressure. Yeah, those little bubble flares or whatever worked out really good. You can see the bulges and all that, so that'll be really nice. So we have the tranny lines all ran. I'm gonna do something up by the front just to make sure the crank pulley doesn't touch it, but it's gonna be here for now until I see from the top, and we might just do a one of those, you know, clamps with a bolt through the top to just hold it down onto the frame real quick. Next thing is we're gonna fix those wires so we can plug in the Prindle. Other than that, most of the wiring, if not all of the wiring, is done. I still have to figure out the oil pressure sensor because the harness came with 1 wire, the pressure sensor has 3. Got to figure out what we're doing with that. The AC compressor, so I'll be looking through the big pamphlet. Hopefully it's better than the other video we had with that bumper, and this one actually explains and shows me what to do. We're getting really close to, I'm gonna order the fluids and whatnot. We'll get that stuff coming, and then I'll reach out to the tuner to get the VATS, or the vehicle anti-theft system, taken care of in the ECU, because it won't start with that. While I was like, I got to go look at these wires, research some of this stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at the instructions. And if you watched the video with the Forerunner, we're going to have that over here somewhere. With the bumper, I was afraid of instructions because of that whole situation. Go watch the video. So I came over here and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna look at these instructions. And oh my God, these are what we needed after going through that nightmare with the Forerunner. So it tells you engine section, it has all this, like it's thick. Oh, there it is, it's thick, look at that. It's instructions, right? So I came here, you know, lay fuel injector harness out over it has all this stuff, you know, feed oxygen sensors down. Like this one page has more instruction on it than that entire bumper did. The other thing too is we get here, and granted, because of how it works, you know, like this is number 2 and it goes to this picture over here, but those 2 grounds I was looking for, it has a paragraph on where to do it, and then it tells you where to put them, and it shows you what they go to. Like, this is amazing. I can't, like a little schoolgirl here. This is awesome. And then every picture for every connector with an arrow pointing to it. You know, like knock sensor, that one. Cam sensor, that one. Map sensor. There it is. Injectors. Tells you to plug them all in. It's got the coil pack plug, the temp sensor, the engine coolant temp sensor. It's got, you know, the alternator stuff. It tells you this is how instructions should be. Essentially, if I screw something up or if something is hard to do, I want it to be because of my own ignorance. If it's because of the instructions or because of the aftermarket company, I'm instantly pissed. If it's because of my own ignorance, at least I can do something about that. I can't do something about someone not telling me how to do shit right. Thank you, Painless. Thank you. We got the dipstick in. The temp sensor, where's that wire? This one. So this is the gauge temp sensor, which this might go to like an OEM cluster thing. I'm gonna plug it in anyways, and we're gonna put one in there just because it is there. It goes back here, and this is like a block off because the truck that this one came out of used the actual engine coolant temperature sensor, and the ECU told the cluster what temperature it was. But we got the dipstick in. This is a Jegs dipstick. It's very snug. We had to use a 3-foot pry bar and a 3-pound sledge. We didn't swing the sledge very hard, but it's what we used. And we got it went in. Doing it by hand, not happening. Although, tells me probably not gonna leak. It did come with this like little tube thing, and I was guessing it was to fill, but it doesn't slide in that, and there's no instructions, so pet peeve. But I'm gonna do something and we're gonna fill the tranny and it won't leak, so I'm fine with that. Now we have new spark plugs we're gonna throw on. We got engine oil we're gonna put in. We're gonna put in a gallon of transmission fluid just so it's not empty. I don't want to fill it completely up because we are going to be pulling it again. So we'll just make sure we don't burn up the pump or anything in the transmission. After this, I'm running it through, looking through the instructions for all this stuff. I'm pretty sure all of this is good. The next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to find in this harness what goes to the ignition switch. And then we might start going under the dash, or I might jerry rig it to do a key thing out here with an ignition switch makeshift to get this thing started. So we're really close. Might actually happen this video. So as of the instructions, right, reading the instructions, the battery also goes to the starter, and that's where the fuses and everything get their battery power from. I was originally thinking it was the B on this, but since these instructions were so well written, I read the correct thing, and I'm going to do what they actually want me to do. So I'm gonna bend this a little bit so that it comes out, just because, you know, we do know the manifold is right next to that starter. Now that we've been educated from the instruction booklet, the AC compressor is wired, we got the 2 grounds on, we found out about the engine coolant gauge sensor, and this one, this is the oil pressure sensor. I'm gonna get the OEM sensor for this, that's a 1-wire sensor, and then I'm gonna get an OEM pigtail and then splice that in, and then we'll have a sensor, because really it just goes to like a dummy sensor. The next step that I want to do, because essentially now the engine is wired. I have the computer plugged in. This isn't where it's going to go. Before we get to the point of the guy coming to take the VATS out of this, which is the vehicle anti-theft system, we're going to have to get a key and do all that. But we don't have all of the stuff ran through the chassis, and I don't have all the stuff under the dash. We're just trying to get the engines to start right now. I went under the dash to pull out all of the old wiring from the old shitty Ranger engine. And under the dash, I found a lot of interesting things from the people who did the swap originally. But we're gonna take the ignition switch out so that I can wire it out here. We just have a key out here, we can try it and then cool and then run all the wires under the dash. As for the stuff that was under the dash, this is what I found. I cut these because they actually tore the firewall to shove these through. There's one missing, I threw it somewhere. And then this is what they did under there with the fire hazard. This is where I cut all the stuff that plugged into the engine harness. But yeah, they had a whole bunch of shit. And so when you have the key, right, there's the power on. That's what they did. They took one huge wire and just connected every single wire that needed 12 volts, apparently. I am glad this car didn't burn down. Also, looking through the instructions, I found these, which is the ignition switch stuff. The only thing in the instructions that was a little confusing, but I'll give it to them because everything else has been wonderful, was it showed 2 wires, one going to the neutral safety switch on the transmission, and then from the neutral safety switch to the starter. But I ohmed it. This purple wire is supposed to be that 2-wire. This purple wire goes straight to the starter. So this one doesn't have a neutral safety switch, which, you know, is kind of bad, but luckily she's used to putting everything into park and then starting it, so we won't have a surprise. Okay, so I'm gonna take out the ignition switch, and what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to take these 4 connectors from behind the cluster, because these 4 connectors are the OEM ones, and it's gonna be really easy and really nice. So I'm gonna take these 4 connectors, and we're gonna figure out what wires go to what. We have diagrams for this truck, and then I'm going to wire the 5 wires that we actually need for this ignition switch, and we should be good. We should have an ignition switch from there. I was looking through the diagrams and, you know, figuring out what wires are what, and then I look at the back of the switch, and I don't know how easy it is to see, but accessory, ignition, This little black one with a red is the start. This white one with a red is battery. And then LE, I don't know what those are. And this is like the little, you know, door chime or whatever, like dee 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 dee. So LE, I don't really know what it is. I don't really care what it is. We need essentially, this one is ignition, this one is ignition, this one's accessory. So we're gonna figure out which ones of these wires, because it kind of shows here, but it actually says in the verbiage which one is it. So 932 must be connected to the accessory post of your ignition switch. Awesome. This blue wire, I can do that one. And 933 or 932 is the brown wire. That, yeah. So I'm gonna wire these together. And this connector pretty much is just gonna get tossed away. The other ones, I might be putting them together. I'm actually gonna unsolder this. All right, so we got black, yellow, black, white. I got the ignition done. It's all plugged in. I got rid of the fourth connector because that was all for the chime and stuff that we're not using. So I'm gonna take this out, which is the cluster that we're gonna be using in this truck. And I'm gonna plug the cluster in on the firewall. We're gonna hook the battery up, see what happens. Shouldn't be any smoke, nothing weird going on. All of the other wires are fine because none of the ends are going to be touching on those. So we shouldn't see anything going on with that. I mean, there are fuses. We pop a fuse, I don't really care. All right, so we have Armando here. He's a good friend. He's been a customer, and you know we've been bullshitting for a long time. He's here to get rid of the VATS.
I can cycle it on.
Oh, see. 1, 2.
Yeah, so we're gonna disable the VATS so we can get it started. So VATS, what it is the vehicle anti-theft system.
Yeah.
What that does is it keeps people from, well, technically keeps them. All right, we're having some protocol failed.
What's that?
So we either have some kind of interference at the OBD2 or we have no power to the computer. So what that does is if you don't have the right key, it doesn't allow you to start the car. So obviously when we take the swap out and we swap it into something else, we no longer have BCM. So, and that's what really controls the VAT. So we have to disable that. And that's what I'm here for. But we are having some technical difficulties. So worst case scenario, we may just take the ECM out and bench it.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I brought my bench.
That's fair. I'm just gonna
But yeah, we can try and
check some voltages real quick, make sure.
Yeah, let's diag a little bit more.
I mean, I was happy when I plugged in everything and nothing caught fire, so.
There we go.
Yeah, I heard some shit that time. All right.
All right, let's try it again.
Quick thinking.
There we go.
Hey.
Dude, this is gonna be wild.
Right? It's gonna be one of those things like, so the other thing too is she doesn't want it loud. So we're gonna do, you know, like vibrant resonator, vibrant muffler, and like, you know, 2.5 inch all the way back, and
That's plenty.
yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, like her being somewhere in the realm of 300-ish horsepower and torque, she gonna be fine. She ain't gonna have
This
any
thing
problem.
Weighs almost nothing, so. Nah, I like the vibrant. I'm actually running, I'm running nothing but resonators on my car.
Oh, nice.
I'm running 2 of their bullets and then 2 of the quiet series.
You know, I'm actually thinking about doing some bullets on my car. Armando here has a really cool Mustang. It's a S50 or 550?
S550.
Yeah. I'm not good with Mustangs, he is.
So the ECM is the same one that came with the engine, right?
No. But I did get the ECM out of almost the exact same truck. Not like the same truck that this engine came out of, but I made sure it was...
Same year and everything?
Yeah, it's...
Nah, I'm just trying to make sure we have all the proper info.
Yeah, no, I asked for 01 or 02, and I think the engine's 01 or 02.
Yeah, the computer's 02.
Okay.
All right, cool. Other than that, we should be ready.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Oh, we need a jump box. You shut up. Oh. All right, we're experiencing technical difficulty because I'm an idiot and forgot one thing. We'll be right back after these messages.
Let me guess.
I didn't plug in the fuel pump. Okay, we have fuel. Fire in the hole.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Oh, it sounds good. Oh, it sounds good.
All right. Oh my God, this thing has to be dramatic. It's like, no, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Oh, thank God. Well, that was a success. Now when she gets here, run, fucking, we'll see her face light up, and then she's gonna be like, will it be quieter? Today, or well, not today, but like since the last time you came and saw it, all of the wiring is ran for the engine.
Okay.
I need to still figure out this being connected to the computer to show RPM and all that stuff, but it does turn on, so you'll get to see what it's going, like a potential of it looking like.
Okay.
Because there's different options for how it looks.
Okay, what did the man do?
So he came in and he turned off the vehicle anti-theft system, which that has to be off in order for us to start it, because we don't have any of the anti-theft stuff that the truck would have that the engine came out of. The other thing that he did was he put the fans in it. He got rid of sensors that we're not going to be using on your truck. He got rid of certain codes that are going to, you know, that would go to stuff on like the newer 2001 truck, where your truck doesn't need that anymore. So he made sure that the ECU was going to run this very well right now, but once we're out and we can go drive it and all that stuff, he's going to actually be finishing the tune, which is going to make this engine run as tip-top as possible.
So he has to come back?
Yes.
Okay, so he left.
Yes.
And it's got little socks on now?
So these are so that the spark plug wires don't burn through the, or burn from the header.
It's got little socks on both sides, right?
Yep, both sides.
Do they stay there, or do the
They
socks
stay there
come up?
permanently.
Permanently.
They're technically fiberglass, so try not to touch them if you don't have to.
I'm not touching them. And these have belts now. We have belts.
Yep, the belts all work and all that stuff. We have a dipstick, which I have yet to mount. This is all going to get routed. These are all the wires that go to like the headlights, the fuel pump.
That's what you wanted to do?
Yep.
And what about the battery? You said you may have to move
the battery,
it?
because of how small all this is, because for the truck,
Yes.
this is the entire fuse box now.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where before we had like 8 different fuse boxes. This was the wiring that was under your dash from all the old stuff that we got rid of.
And so what will be under my dash now?
This
That-
stuff.
That stuff.
Just this.
That's better?
Oh yeah. That was a huge mess. We're gonna put this under the dash if we can.
Okay.
I'm gonna try my best to fit it under there. This is the computer to the truck. This is gonna run everything. And then
That's the computer to the
Yeah.
truck. And that's my display.
correct.
That's my new display.
Yeah, and I already checked. It does fit really nicely in the plastic shroud. We're
It
starting
does.
to do some
Yeah.
mock-up or
Yeah.
whatever, but it does fit nicely in the plastic shroud. So we'll have that in there. And
Okay, so you got all the parts you need to get it to start.
Yes.
That's the object.
oil and stuff's in it. Spark plugs are there.
Okay. And so then once you start it,
Yep.
you're going to disconnect these things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
All of it.
And then Fred, you're going to paint it.
yeah. Yeah, Fred's gonna paint it.
Fred's going to paint it. And
We're gonna have it
then
match on the truck,
and then you're going to put it back in and bolt
and
it
then
into
everything's
place.
going to be nice then. Yeah, because essentially I did this so that we could be like, it works, engine and transmission function together. You know, the engine is good that we got from the junkyard, because that's always a, you know, did we get a good engine from a crashed truck? I want to make sure that everything sounded good, all that stuff. So,
And when do we figure out if the transmission's any good?
so it's technically the feel of it. Like right now, if the transmission had any problem, there'd be like noises or whining from the pump or any of that stuff, which, you know, good not to have. But actually waiting for gears, we need the drive shaft and all that stuff. So that'll be after it's all in. But the transmission can come out once it's all in. So
Okay.
no worries there.
And when do we know about the pumpkin? The differential?
Oh, Like just getting it on.
Well, that it works the way you want it to
Same
work.
thing when we want to drive. Or well, it'll bolt on, but we'll make sure that everything functions together once we actually go to move the truck. But you ready?
You ready? 3, 2, 1. Blast off. We're gonna get ready now.
Yup.
Woohoo! It'll be a year July. This is a big deal. I'm gonna back up till it explodes. See? Sparks.
It will be a lot quieter.
I was gonna say, good job by you. Good job. It sounded a little loud to begin with. But
Yeah. Yeah,
I was a little scared there for a moment. I thought some things were gonna come flying off, but.
no. Typical open headerness.
Okay, so are you pleased?
Very.
So so now we know the engine is okay.
Yeah, this is a huge part of this.
Okay.
Getting this to function in the car with the wiring that we're going to have. It's like, essentially now, whenever we do put it back in, everything should just plug in and it work.
When I turn the key, it will start.
Every time. That's the goal, is every
You
time.
heard that? You heard Jane? Did you hear? Fred, you hear what she said?
This
you heard
isn't
what
the
he
3
said
liter you
every
used to
time.
have.
It's supposed to start every time. You heard it.